Hello and welcome back to my channel. And in this video, I'm just trying to recall the things which I have learned in the society lectures until now. So, I have read about the salient features of the Indian society, which I have told you in the previous videos. In that, I have completed a major topic which is family. So, what is family? Family is basically a social group of people interacting with each other and they have a common residence. There is economic cooperation, then there is sexual gratification, and there is reproduction or progeny. So these are the major attributes of what a family is. Depending on these attributes, there are major classifications of what kind of family we're talking about. So, uh, coming to the types, based on the institution of marriage. So based on this, we have one is monogamy, then we have polygamy, then the recently emerged sologamy. I hope now I write properly because this handwriting won't fetch me marks. Anyways, first we have monogamy. Basically, there's a single relationship between the spouses. So within the monogamy, there are two different types, which are straight and serial. Due to the impact of globalization, we are moving from straight to serial. So, straight is like you would have just one partner for the whole of your life, even if the partner dies, or even if you have certain conflicts or certain problems in your marriage, then too you would have that same partner. However, due to the emergence of globalization and certain factors associated with it, and basically because of lesser economic dependence of women on their spouses, we are now transitioning to a more serial type of monogamy where you would have one partner for that amount of time. However, you could have a divorce or you could have a separation. So it's like one partner at a time. So, like you would commit to a partner, and if things just don't go that way, you could like part your ways. This was about monogamy. Then about polygamy. These also has two types. First is polygyny and then polyandry. So since these two are very similar names, so I have deciphered it by this. So polyandry means when women has many husbands, whereas polygyny means one husband has many wives, wife one, wife two, wife three, and so on, like this. So recently we have seen an emergence in polygamy marriages. So this is like polygamy you could find, for example, in Islam, and there are some tribes which follow this. However, polyandry is one of the major examples you could see or you could relate is with that of the Pandavas and Draupadi. So these are also prevalent in the Khasa type tribes, I guess. According to a recent report of the Punjab University, there is a significant rise. In polyandrous marriages, this can be attributed to several factors, and the prominent ones are the lack of agricultural land, then the reduction of assets or economic resources, and these are done because when there's just one wife for different husbands, what they basically do is they just pool their resources. So there is a Bollywood film associated with it, which is Bhumi. This would actually give you more insights, or if you could just read the plot of this very movie, you could see that the plight of women in such a patriarchal and a very detrimental concept. Basically, this is done. Like if you could see the pros of it, the pros are that there is pooling of resources, then uh, like less money to run the household, and there is less fragmentation of assets. So, this feature is mostly found within a single family where different brothers or siblings they have a common wife. So, it also helps in like fertility control. But the cons outweigh all of it because it is a very socially detrimental problem for women because it denies social empowerment to women. It just denies their right. It is very detrimental towards their health, towards their needs. Also, it is reinforcing patriarchy to a very detrimental effect. This was about the marriages. Then sologamy. Sologamy. Recently, there was some news about uh, a girl in India who was trying to like who actually married herself, and then I remember she divorced herself also. I'm not sure if I remember it correctly, but I know that she married herself. There was a very magnanimous social media controversy related to it. There were many memes which would float. So this is basically a emerging institution of marriage where this is done because people now have this thing as an expression of self-love, and because of the rising opportunities in terms of economic aspects, there is less dependence on the other gender for especially the less dependence of women on their spouses for their economic needs. So this is a very emerging institution. However, it is said to be uh, like detrimental for the institution of marriage, for the sacrament institution of marriage. So based on the type of residence also, we could uh, classify the types of families. So it would be people who are living together and those who are not. So joint family and nuclear family. So in joint family, most of the people have common residence. Here, the people actually dissociate from this joint family or disintegrate from it and have their separate residences. So it's just the nuclear family could be called as a subset of the joint family, but it is now having a different residence. In joint family, you could see that the blood ties are given more importance than the uh, friendship ties or the marital associations. This is why you would find a more emphasis given on the blood relationships. And one of the major features of the Indian joint family is that the oldest male is described as the central authority, which basically reinforces patriarchy. In joint family, the powers and responsibilities are like are diverged or are distributed in terms of the gender and age of a person. So the oldest male comes greater in the hierarchy than the youngest female. So the oldest male would have more autonomy in his decisions, so he would have more powers, whereas the youngest female would be more subjected to his or the other member's authority. So in joint family they pool their resources, more economic cooperation. However, there are some detrimental effects as well. Some cons that there is lack of privacy, then sometimes you just lose yourself in that institution because there is self alienation. Self alienation in the sense that you have to behave in a certain way. So there is reciprocal obligation to behave. There are certain restrictions as well, which would definitely amount into privacy. Then there is high fertility ratio. There is more burden on the breadwinners, less autonomy to take decisions. However, there are many uh, pros of it as well, that it and the institution of joint family basically uh, helps in as an agency of social control, agency of primary interaction, or you must say primary social interaction. And then there is also this joint family, since there is economic cooperation, and therefore the different members, it helps in like a safety net for the members. And because of this disintegration of the joint family, you could see there is a rise in the vulnerability of the old people, old age people. This is why the government has to intervene in order to protect these people after the disintegration of the joint family. So, in terms of ancestry, also, we could classify the types of families. So, first is uh, so in terms of ancestry, basically the number of generations And that also the joint and nuclear family. So, the joint family, the condition is that you have to have a minimum three generations. In nuclear family, there is maximum two generations. Here, the blood ties are more than the given more prominence than the marital ones. Whereas in the nuclear family, the marital ties are given more emphasis than the blood ties. So I made a mistake like over here on the type of residence. Residence should not be joint family, nuclear family. Residence should be where the people are living, right? So on the basis of residence, it should be first is patrilineal, then matrilineal, and then neolineal. So I'll just change my color of the pen. So patrilineal is basically when you're deciding when the wife shifts to her husband's house, and matrilineal is when the wife stays at her own place, whereas the husband is the one who would be a visiting member or who would actually find some place of residence to the vicinity of his wife. The neolineal is a very emerging concept where both husband and wife shift to a third place. So, because of globalization, our society, the Indian society, is shifting from patrilineal to neolineal because of different emerging opportunities in terms of labor. So, most of the workforce basically is now migrating to the metro cities in search of different economic opportunities. Therefore, there is this neolineal neolineal type of family which is evolving. So we were talking about residence as well, sorry, ancestry as well. So this was the joint family, nuclear family. I told you about the differences. Okay, anything left? Let me just remember. Types marriage, uh, then residence, ancestry. There were four types. I remember only three. Okay, let me just brainstorm it. Oh, okay, I get it. I made a mistake again. So according to this is not patrilineal. It is patrilocal, matrilocal, and neo-local. The definition remains the same, however, in terms of ancestry. So over there, which I told you about ancestry, it is wrong. This is in terms of composition. So here about the ancestry, we have patrilineal and matrilineal. So patrilineal is where the lineage is determined on the basis of father, and matrilineal is when the lineage is determined on the basis of your mother. So most of the Indian society is patrilineal and patrilocal, and because of this, we have a skewed sex ratio because of sex selective births and son meta preference. This is done in order to reduce the fragmentation of land because a daughter, what they think is, since we have a patrilineal and patrilocal society, what they think is that a daughter would eventually move to her husband's place, and if she has equal rights in land, then our assets would be fragmented. In order to reduce this fragmentation of asset, they have this preference for a male child. So this was about the types of families. I'll just sum it up for you. On the basis of marriage, we discussed monogamy, polygamy, and sologamy. Within monogamy, we have serial and straight. Within polygamy, we have polygyny and polyandry. Then we have sologamy. Then, on the basis of residence, we have three, which are patrilocal, matrilocal, and neolocal. Patrilocal is the one where the wife actually shifts to her husband's place. Matrilocal is the one where the wife stays at her place, whereas the husband would be a visiting member or would shift into her vicinity. Then there is neolocal, where both of them shift to a third place. Then we read about ancestry. So in terms of ancestry, we have two which are matrilineal or patrilineal. So in patrilineal, we determine lineage from the father, and in matrilineal, we determine lineage from the mother. Our Indian society is both patrilineal and patrilocal, and that is why we have a skewed sex ratio. Then, in terms of composition, we have joint family and nuclear family. So, for a family to be classified as a joint family, you must have three generations minimum. Whereas for a nuclear family, you should have maximum of two generations. These were was about the types of families. Then about the features of Indian joint family. So about the features first is, as I told you, patrilineal, then patrilocal, blood ties are given more prominence than marital relations, less autonomy for women, or there is uh, lesser position of women. Then the oldest male is the central authority, and there is a hierarchical structure in terms of power, so which is determined on the basis of age and gender. So age and gender uh, with reference to power and responsibilities. Okay, so these are the features which I remember. Then about the functions of the joint family. So first function is it acts as an agency of social control. Then it acts as an agency of primary interaction. It provides an economic buffer or some kind of safety net. It helps in that uh, the safety net I talked about, primary interaction, social control. It also helps in bridging the gap between our emotional vulnerabilities to some extent, that it helps in the reduction of broken people. So more, I would say, emotional support. some sort of emotional support. And the other functions, so the D functions, this functions I would just discuss it. Maybe I would then remember the other functions. But this functions first is lack of privacy. Then there is ghettoization, a formation of ghettos like a geographical area inhabited by a certain people, certain group of people having similar thoughts or similar virtues. So this would basically uh, like kind of become a zone where you excluded from the other areas, people belonging to the other areas. So it forms a ghetto. There's also a ghetto within family. There is self alienation, also more brunt or burden on earning members, plight of women. So these were the functions and dysfunctions of the joint family. Okay, so let me just check my next ones. We've read about composition, ancestry, features of the Indian joint family. Okay, we left common residence and common kitchen, common sharing of properties, functions and dysfunctions. We talked about primary socialization or primary interaction, social control, social insurance, which is around the safety net, and there is economic cooperation, provide social and emotional support, lack of privacy, high fertility rate, okay, low standards of living, low status of women, self-alienation, formation of ghetto, leading to us versus them, also acts as ideological conditioning device. Okay, so your primary virtues or your primary morals about life are formed because of your interactions with your family. And since in the family mostly there is some kind of authority, so the children are basically created into some kind of a submissive workforce. Therefore, there is the production of social labor. Then this life cycle of joint family. So basically, why does the joint family disintegrates? They may be because of migration. It may be because of migration. Maybe because of different economic opportunities, different social factors, and then westernization. Also, there is this concept of theoretical partition, where because in order to avail certain economic benefits or of the government schemes, or due to the land ceiling laws, people basically resort to theoretical partition of their property, which later sow the seeds for actual partition. Then westernization is so much influenced by the practices of the West. Alternatives of marriage are also there, cohabitation, live-in. So this, according to Milton Singer, there is what this is what Milton Singer said that when a woman is empowered, she is now less dependent for her economic needs. Therefore, she will be more autonomous in her decisions. Therefore, this would eventually lead to the disintegration of joint family. This is what Milton Singer said. Then there are these emerging forms of families. Okay, this is what was essential for covering Indian families. Thank you.